Triple M NRL Journos show, Adam Peacock alongside Danny Weidler from 9 News. What do we got, Danny?
We'll talk about the Kevolution at the Kangaroos, Kevy Walters.
Oh, Kevolution. I can see that on the big super on 9 News
somewhere.
tonight. There you go. Michael Chammas, Sydney Morning Herald.
I'll talk about Kalyn Ponga for a little bit longer and just back up what I said last week, despite some interesting posts on social media.
You were right, we think, apparently. Here we go. Gentlemen, good to see you. How are we?
I've been sick, but I'm great now that I'm seeing you and you, not Michael so much.
Chammy?
Damn Gus over here doesn't like seeing me.
Well, it's good to see the chemistry in the room is a little better than it was on set the other night.
What happened on the other night? It was
icicles started to form in the corner of my TV screen when you and Gus were on.
Elsa was around, yeah. That's
especially when you brought up the fact he's not on the salary cap committee. That went down well.
I think it was bad before that, actually.
Yeah.
Well, he had a bit of a crack at me before I went on, so I thought, you know what, I'll have my opportunity and take it.
What did he have a crack at you about?
Well, I think he made reference to the scuttlebutt around Newcastle last week. Where'd that go? And he was having a bit of a crack around Ponga and Adam O'Brien.
We'll get to that.
Which is an interesting tactic.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
So I just thought when the opportunity came, I'd let the viewers know that he was invited to be part of the salary cap committee and rejected. And he talks about how he can fix everything in his lunch break at the NRL, got the chance to do it and then brushed them.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that.
Will we? It's not on the rundown.
Salary caps.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Was it Frosty? I didn't look. I didn't rewatch the show. Was it Frosty?
It wasn't warm.
Really?
It wasn't. When you were talking, he was not looking.
Yeah.
He was not engaged.
I wonder why.
Anyway, what like the salary cap thing? So he's just adamant that the whole thing should be blown up and start again, whereas it looks like they're making cosmetic changes. And
that's what he said. I didn't understand that really, because he said that the scope wasn't wide enough, but the email that I saw from the NRL said, please see below the scope of the project. Review all aspects of salary cap, including third-party contracts, allowances and exemptions, and there was a whole raft of things there. So anyway, maybe it wasn't wide enough. I know that the people on the committee thought it was interesting that Gus would make those comments.
Who is on the committee? Are you?
No, I'm
Shared
on the
by
committee.
Andrew Lancaster.
Andrew
I believe,
Lancaster, the Dragons chairman and director at Channel 9.
Originally, Clint Newton was supposed to be on it, but I don't think he was able to do it.
He decided to pull out, but I can understand that reasoning, because he said, well, if we're going to come up with a recommendation and then I have to go on the CBA and represent the players, I could be negotiating against what I recommended. So that's not a smart move for him to be on there.
I think, was part of it originally.
Donaghy, Dave Donaghy from the Broncos, Blake Solly.
Yep.
So there's quite a few people on there. I can't remember who the others were, but yeah, unfortunately, Gus is not on there.
Australia, the Kangaroos have a new coach, Kevin Walters, confirmed. Have we got the detail about what went on in the lead up to this announcement, namely with Kevy getting the job, but Cameron Smith and Wayne Bennett, other names thrown into the ring, not ending up with the job?
Well, we're recording this at about 11 o'clock. Kevy is due
on a Wednesday.
Kevy's due to front the media in Brisbane at around midday, where I'm sure he'll talk about the pride he feels that he's been given this job. But there are other bigger issues around this job that I don't know if he'll address or he won't. First of all, I'm not being insulting to Kevy, but he was second choice. Brad Fittler knocked it back, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he feels about that. Kevy's pretty egoless, though. I would say that he's the sort of guy who'll just accept that. And maybe he was third choice. I don't know. Was Wayne Bennett ever really wanted? Was that ever part of the equation?
They didn't want to change the rule for him.
Yeah. Some people on the commission didn't want to change the rule. Yeah.
So Kevy's got to swallow that, and I'm sure he will, because he's one of the best guys you'd meet in rugby league, and he's also someone who knows that this job is bigger than people's egos and that sort of thing. There's the eligibility stuff, which is pretty much why Brad Fittler decided he didn't want to do it. Obviously, the process was taking too long for Freddie, but I think that the ability for players to say no to an Australian jumper is becoming a bigger and bigger issue in rugby league, and I think Freddie's been quite outspoken about it recently as well. And I think they're things that Kevy's going to have to deal with. I mean, Chammy, you brought up this week, you broke the story about Hammer not wanting to be part of it? We already know Tino.
Potentially. He's
Okay,
thinking,
sorry,
not
okay.
100% confirmed, but he's
Right, but
definitely giving strong consideration.
Payne, Haas and Tino.
Yep. Payne Haas, I'd say, would definitely be going over.
Tino potentially.
Yeah.
So it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. I mean, Adam, when you and I grew up, we used to just watch the Kangaroos. They were almost like the Harlem Globetrotters, weren't they? They were just in a team. You'd put the jerseys on them and you just watch them do brilliant things.
And they'd play more regularly. They'd play in the middle of the year, and then they'd go on those great Kangaroo tours and play all the now Super League teams over there. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's a different time, isn't it? And they're no longer the superpower that they were. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No.
It's something that Kevy is going to have to deal with and address. And I think the stuff around eligibilities where that's a major issue for Kevy to deal with.
Just on Cameron, I'm intrigued about the Cameron Smith situation, about how he was apparently in for the job and then all of a sudden it went away. It was like his name disappeared off the radar, and it was more likely Wayne Bennett was going to get it rather than Kevin Walters or Kevin Walters.
So you're saying the Cameron Smith situation?
Yeah. Well, what happened?
Well, Cameron was... Look, obviously we work with Cameron on 900% footy. My understanding of the situation was, Cameron is a hard man to get a hold of. I think people who know who are in the game that he's
Andrew Webster has said he wrote his book and he couldn't even get a hold of him to do his book.
It's true.
That's true.
And I admire the fact that he can live in the present and not worry about his phone all the time, which in this situation proved a bit difficult. The NRL tried to contact him. I think the way it was told to me, the NRL then, he messaged the NRL notifying them that to take it further to speak to Isaac Moses, his agent. But then in that period, the NRL held a meeting, the commission held a meeting and decided that the criteria that was going to be set was going to be a non-aligned NRL club coach.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part was someone with experience. Now, Cameron Smith obviously doesn't have the experience as a coach.
He has been an assistant for Queensland, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he hasn't coached in the NRL. I think that's what they were saying.
Look, I get that. But, I mean, let's be fair dinkum about Cameron Smith's career.
Oh,
he was an on-field coach.
He was an on-field. I completely agree.
He was an
with
on-field
you.
referee and on-field coach. And he was brilliant at both. Right?
And a good player.
And I actually would have given him I would have said, you're the coach. He has this aura about him. He's played a lot more recently than Kevy, so the current players can relate to him a lot more. And they understand his accomplishments and achievements. You could have made him the Australian coach. In that environment, we know that it's not so much the coaching that the head coach does. It's the people around him that will do a lot of the work in the video and plan for the way they play. He would have been the guy who galvanised the team and set the standard.
I think Cameron could have.
That's what I'm saying. He could have done that.
But I also think he could walk in and do that job without a problem.
I agree.
I really think that. I know there's this notion of what's a better term than celebrity coaches, but this notion that he couldn't be a hands-on coach and tactically come up with stuff, I think is wrong, because I think he could do all of that and more.
But he purely missed out on criteria that was set.
Yes, but then my understanding is Peter V'landys then spoke to Cameron a few days ago and said, we're going to go with Kevy, because that was the decision they made. They didn't go through an interview process, so you can argue whether that was right or wrong. But when Peter V'landys spoke to Cameron Smith, they brought up the assistant coach's role, but he also brought up the fact that he would like to transition him, give him the experience to transition into the head coach of Australia down the track. That could have been as early as 2027 World Cup, because Kevy is only going to be given a 3-match
And what do you
contract.
think of that? What do you think of the 3-game contract?
Well, it says to me that they're not completely sold that Kevy's the right man. And in the end, there weren't many people who fit their criteria.
Was Kevy sold that he is not going to end up in the NRL space again?
Well, that's going to be interesting. What if Kevy must be convinced he's not getting the current jobs that are available or will become available, Titans, Cowboys, Newcastle, because...
Oh, you've... What? Does Adam O'Brien know that? Does Todd Payton know that?
The ones that are speculating that are going to become available.
They're available.
I said will become available, champion.
Oh, he's
Okay.
championed me.
champ.
About 3 minutes in the podcast.
Well,
I've
you
been
called me the
champion.
people's champion. I'm going to call you just
are
the champion.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Worldwide. I know you prefer that now.
Anyway, if they become available, he must be pretty confident he's not going to go for them or miss out on them, because he wants to be an NRL coach. And the NRL will be furious come September or August, one of these guys are gone and Kevy takes the job and they have to search for a coach again for the Kangaroos.
Well, do you think is it in any way being disrespectful to the Kangaroos' job by only having someone there for 3 games? Or
No,
3
because
tests?
if Kevy doesn't win, to be fair, if Kevy doesn't win this series, the Ashes series, they should move in a different direction for the World Cup. This is a massive series for Australia. And I know they're going to be decimated by players choosing to play for the Pacific nations instead of playing for Australia, but they should still beat England. It's going to be a huge series. The first Ashes series in 2 decades. A lot of pressure on Australia to get the wins over there in front of packed out crowds at Wembley and Everton's new stadium and Leeds. So, yeah, I think it's the right call. 3 games. Kevy wasn't a walk-up start to that job. Otherwise, he would have been appointed straight away. So there's clearly a view that there's some skepticism around whether he's the right man.
And the fact they were talking about Cameron, or maybe we're already talking about a transition into the next coach, being Cameron Smith.
Yeah.
We don't like that in clubland that much, do we? The whole transition notion.
Look, I hope Kevy does a great job.
Yeah,
he's passionate about the jersey. He's a passionate individual in general.
And he'll be great to bring a team together.
For sure.
And get them united to try and do this job. I don't know. I'd imagine that some of the same staff will be involved that had previously been involved, because right now it's a bit of a schmozzle. The whole, there's no... The NRL or the ARL, or whoever you want to say, they're saying that things are booked and in place. They're not.
As in, like,
hotels.
They're on hold.
There's all these things on hold. They haven't inspected training grounds. There's no one who's done a...
Really?
Yeah.
The NRL is so under-resourced at the moment.
It is. It's embarrassing how under-resourced they are.
And that's...
People are working their backsides off across several areas.
Yeah.
And they're stretching them too far.
Especially because they are. And I compliment them on their drive to be innovative and play games in Vegas. And
it's great. Expansion
and what they're doing. It is absolutely brilliant. And they're making a lot of money. But I think it's time... I think the NRL has been so caught up in the previous administration just wasting money on what was it called? A bloated head office.
Yes.
So they've moved so far away from that, but I think it's to the detriment of the game, because now they need to start
it's impacting
investing in resources.
Yeah, and it's impacting the staff.
Especially when they're doing double, triple the amount of work of previous administration.
Yeah, I agree.
You need the troops to do it. You can't rely on the people that are there to work 24/7 to get it all done. I think the NRL need to start investing in the resources to make sure the game capitalises on what they've been doing over the last 5 or 6 years.
And the fact that they haven't bedded this down is bad. It's bad for the game.
You putting your hand up to go over and do the recce and find some training grounds, especially after the Premier League starts, to go over and...
I'll put my hand up for the Ashes. I've already looked at Tottenham v Aston Villa. I think
Hang on, what about the games they're playing? The actual Kangaroos games?
Oh, that's the sideshow. So they're going to watch a few Premier League games.
I hope your bosses aren't listening.
Far out.
The Champions League worked out well as well.
Yeah, I bet it has. You're going to end up watching more football than I will this season live.
You're jealous, aren't you?
Well, I'm stuck here doing it.
Well, I paid £5 the other day to watch. I paid Reading FC £5 to watch the Tottenham pre-season friendly at midnight.
Wow, that's commitment.
Well, it was 45 on the Spurs website. I wasn't paying them 45.
It's also a tax write-off, so that's why I did it. Just back to the fork in the road that International Rugby League is about to, like the old quote from, I think it was Yogi Berra, the great Yankees catcher, is when you get to a fork in the road, take it. So so at the moment, it's there in front of everyone. It's, okay, what exactly is the eligibility criteria and rules? Dive into this, because you look at this potential Samoa team.
Is this one you put up on?
Yeah, I did.
Is this when you're doing your Instagram live? Is that your thing now?
Yeah.
That's Instagram live.
Doesn't he do that?
I put up a team though, a Samoan team. I rushed it because there were some players I probably could have put in there.
Yeah, Jamie, you don't need to look at it. It's printed out right here.
Printed out.
Producer Curtis has done a great job.
Read
it out. Go for it.
I had, if these players decide to play.
Yeah.
Hammer at fullback, Brian To'o and Tuivasa-Sheck on the wing, or you can put Taulangi in there.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac Tungo and Stephen Crichton in the centres. You've also got Taylor May. Blaze Tulangi and Jerome Luai in the halves. Up front, Terrell May and Payne Haas. Back row of Jeremiah Nanai and Jaden Sewer. Tino at lock forward.
Mm-hmm.
I had hooker Danny Levi. If I gave it more thought, I'd probably put Chanel Harris-Tavita in there or Jazz Tavanga. The bench, I had Sua Falongo, Spencer Lenu, Josh Papali'i and Sean Bloor.
That's a pretty good 17.
Mate. But the people I'm missing out the captain.
Well, you've dumped the captain.
Junior Paulo. Where does he go?
Billy Slater over here.
Yeah.
Well, he probably should be in there. But the other one is, does Stefano want to play for Samoa? Because he misses out as well.
So I don't have a problem with a player who, at the age eligibility rules that Origin kicks in, has the option of playing for another nation as long as they are eligible to play under the age.
100%,
You
Adam.
can't have, Sam Burgess just lob in and say, I want to
Agree.
play Origin
Yep.
because he was born, he's excluded from that. But even if they're English, I've got no problem with it. But it has to be a uniform rule. It can't be, England and New Zealand, that's your rule. Samoa, Tonga, because
Totally.
you're developing. That team is better than England right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That team beats England
That team's
No,
better
in
than
a
Australia.
three-game series.
That team's
Well,
better than Australia.
arguably. However,
Depends who's available for us, like who plays
the
for us.
NRL have got to come up with a uniform approach to it all and not this tier 1, tier 2 garbage because it
Right.
doesn't exist anymore.
It's got to go. And it's got to be, if you are eligible to play Origin under the current criteria, then you play Origin. And it doesn't matter who you play international football.
Correct.
Which means someone who comes over from England at the age of 17 doesn't qualify for Origin. But Victor Radley, who's born and raised in New South Wales and spent his whole life here, he should be playing Origin. If he wants to play for England because he's representing his parents and his heritage, then so be it. Why are we doing this? And if we're going to enforce a rule where you're prohibiting him from doing so, then your Origin product's going to pay the price because these guys are going to choose Samoa. And the money, if it becomes a force like it's going to be, the money in international football will grow and you'll end up inflicting damage on the Origin product. Because the Origin product will be worse off if you haven't got Stephen Crichton, if you don't have Brian To'o, you don't have Tino Fasuamaleaui and Payne Haas and Stefano and all these guys. Why are we going to cruel the concept when they can do both just as well? This whole notion that it's a representative trial for the international team, please, it's rubbish. It hasn't been that for a long time, and it shouldn't be that.
Yeah, 9 of those 17 in that Samoan team that you named played Origin this year.
Well, the other thing when I think, what about Keon? Keon Kalyn is a walk-up start to Australia. He'll probably pick Tonga. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. There are so many players who are now eligible to play Origin and can do both. And we should, as a game, encourage it because it will only enhance the game. We're talking about Rugby 360 and whatnot, please.
So 30 grand for Origin, isn't it? I think it's only about 3 grand
No, it's
per
more than
test.
that.
Oh,
I think,
okay.
is it
Okay.
10 or is it 5?
It's not much.
But Danny, you talk to these guys a fair bit about
5, I think it is.
what their heart says and what
You
their
know where
head
they-
says.
You know where their hearts are.
Yeah.
You know where their hearts are. But
And
they
it's
also-
all to do with their parents and what they
Yeah,
did
and
for them in moving
that's
over. And,
understandable.
Yeah.
Like, that's perfectly understandable. I don't like agreeing with Chammy, but I agree with him and you. We're all actually. Are we all agreeing?
Yeah.
yeah, we are.
That's
Like
not.
Ponga, this notion about New Zealand. So what if he plays for Queensland? Let him play for New Zealand. But I will say this. We should have a period now where we need to know who you want to represent.
Like an amnesty, like put it all out there.
Yeah.
Say who you want to play for.
Yeah, and the thing that I say is, I do agree with the tiers though, because if someone says they're eligible to play for Australia, for example, they want to play for Australia. Let's say Payne Haas chose to play for Australia, and he missed out on the team. It's probably a bad example because he's never going to miss out.
Yep.
But if he did, is it good for the game that he just sits out in the summer? Maybe he should play for Samoa. I don't know.
Well-
but I think once you choose your country,
I think that the top sides, but say if, not that it's ever going to happen, but Nathan Cleary misses out on the Australian side,
yeah.
he's eligible for Ukraine. I'm serious.
I'll tell you who the
Yeah.
good example is. Isaiah Katoa.
Yeah.
He's going to play, he's eligible to play Origin. He is a Tongan international.
Yep.
He's probably not going to get picked for Australia this year. Let's say we force the players now to pick their country and he picks Australia. Is it good for the game that Isaiah Katoa does nothing over the summer?
So in international football, soccer, the rule is that you can play 3 internationals before the age of 21 for a certain nation. But if you decide, you know what, and it can't be in a World Cup game, you know what, I want to play for another nation, which happens a lot, especially with, a world with our borders and so much migration now and so many people having so many heritages in their family tree, that they can then swap over. But also there's a residency amnesty that if you decide, I'll play for a certain country, but then there's 3 or 4 years grace, and then you go and play. They have it in cricket, for instance. There's a period of time there you just basically have to sit out, and then you decide to go. So I reckon they should do that for all the Tier 1 nations. Just have, if you want to change, okay, sit in the sidelines for a couple of years, unfortunately, but then you can change. There's lots of considerations, but my thought is that I don't reckon the NRL have thought deeply about this, have they?
No, they don't, because they don't have the time and as we said,
Back
they're
to the
under
resources
resourced.
and
They
the-
don't have the resources to spend a lot of time on this.
And the general probably football knowledge. I mean, there's not a lot of that in there. So
Anyway, you mentioned Rugby 360. Let's find out a bit more about that right now. One of the big stories of this present week, gentlemen, is R360 and what it is. Rugby 360, a new competition. It's kind of like the Super League of Rugby Union, for want of a better expression, 30 years on. We'll get to Super League a bit later on because there's an anniversary on the weekend. But joining us now to tell us more, because very seldom do we have the situation where us three experts in the room can't explain something. So we need to bring someone in here on the podcast to tell us more about R360 and the possibilities of a raid on Rugby League. He's part of Foundation Sports, an agency that looks after Rugby League talent and also Rugby Union talent. David Rawlings, thank you for your time, mate. First of all, is this real? Is this a threat to the playing stocks of NRL clubs all around the country and New Zealand?
Yeah, I appreciate the kind introduction, fellas. I'm probably no expert on the matter, but like in short to your question, I think it's mate, it's definitely going to be a disruptor to the marketplace, right? It's started to get some traction and some legs, and I guess particularly in our realms on the Rugby League and the Australian media, more so because of the KP and Roger discussions that have been kind of bantered around in the last week or two, but it has been bubbling away for quite a long time overseas, particularly in that France and the UK market. Do we see it as being a significant threat to rugby union globally? Yeah, if it gets its legs up and the ideation and the concept is there. It's a very, very good concept. It's about the strategy of putting it together and whether it will roll out in the format that they've proposed. But there is certainly some good opportunity there. It's great that they're looking at a new way to invest and change the game of rugby to an extent. But then, on the other side of that, will it impact the rugby league space? I tend to think not significantly.
So we shouldn't be too worried, Dave, as the league community shouldn't be too concerned that we're going to see, the Pongas, the Pappenhausens, the Tuivasa Sheks, whoever. Are we going to lose players to this? I guess it's like an IPL sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they looked at that Grand Prix style concept. It's a really the base model looks at an eight men, 4 women competition that played over around 16 different venues globally. So those franchises will, IPL style, or however you want to say it, picked up and transport across those cities, and then there's a spectacle that comes with that. But essentially, the market itself, if you're looking at 8 teams, we're talking maybe 200 odd players at best. And globally, the rugby, across the world, we've probably got 65 odd professional rugby union teams. So there's a capacity for them to fill majority of those spots with players in the game. But then I guess there is the appeal of Southern Hemisphere eyeballs and also the athleticisms of what some of our NRL players offer. We did Joey, obviously, across to Japan. He hasn't been the first. Have had Marika Koribide go across. Have had Sammy Radrata make some big noise when he went over across, and now he's gone from his competition. So he'll start up with Japan again next year. So we go back in time. We could talk about Lottie and Matt and Wendell and that group of collective players in Israel. So there has been some good, strong transitions, and then there's been some others, Benji, Sam Burgess, that are more of recent times. So it's definitely a playing pool to be picked from, but do I really believe that it's going to be a significant impact on the game? I wouldn't have thought. I mean, they're chasing players that are going to be able to pick up and transition specifically across to the game quite quickly. And the transition of the skill sets between rugby league and rugby union are not as maybe not as common as we think. Certainly the midfield positions, like what Joey Sawali's done, playing at 12 or 13, potentially on the wings and at fullback, but the rest of those positions will be, I would have thought, would go to the experienced players and those high-level players that they already have globally across. So, yeah.
Dave, you've recently been gallivanting around Buddy. I just wanted your thoughts on whether you thought this was actually going to happen. I know what they're proposing and the appeal of it, but what's your gut feel? Does it even get off the ground? Is it logistically too hard? And do you think the threat of players not being able to represent their countries if they do go and play for a breakaway competition will be too much for them to get it off the ground?
I think that last point's important. What you said there around is there ratification by World Rugby? So at the moment, there isn't ratification by World Rugby. I know they're in discussions with them. to try and get that ratification to happen and have that international window available so players can represent their country. But, players have great pride and heritage in being able to do that. So traditionally when players have uprooted out of their country, so, our All Blacks have jumped across over to into the Japanese system or the other systems, they still can come back and play for their country, as some of our Australians do when we pull, guys like Marike and Will Skelton and co back into the fold. So at the moment, if there's no ratification of the tournament and puts a line through those international representation honours, that definitely will have some level of damage there. And then your first part of the question, talking about the viability of it. I mean, if we're talking about it being US, UK, and Saudi backed, obviously the Saudi Public Investment Fund, as we know, is worth hundreds of billions. And they've pushed in somewhere close to 50 billion into the sports market over the past 2 to 3 years. So if the appetite and the willingness of spending some money, I guess money can make anything happen, but there's also those other nuances of the timing, a World Cup in 27. So if we were talking about an R360 launch in 26, well, there's no way we can get 200 contracted players into that system at that period of time, right? Then you go, okay, do you do it in 27? Well, they're talking about looking at it for 27, but that's our World Cup year. So most of those players you would assume are going to want to play for their country in that World Cup. So potentially, yes, but I think a more realistic time frame may be that after World Cup in 28, when you tend to have a lot of players off contract that are signing through to World Cups, that might be an easier proposition for them to try and get 200 players, because the 200 elite players are no one's off contract at the same time, right? As we know. So they're going to have to find the right caliber of players, the right timing of the contracts. They can't induce players to break contracts that are already binding, which obviously is another barrier for them to be able to get something moving so quickly. But again, money does talk. But that would be my general feel that, I don't think we're going to be seeing much of it in 26 or 27. And then that probably gives them some time, because right now we haven't seen a solidified business model. And there's a lot of unanswered questions outside of what I think is a really good ideation and a great conceptual piece. But the actual kind of meat on the bone probably needs a little bit more work for it to be a viable marketplace for players.
So talk about that they've been made huge offers and there's big money around, and they're signing contracts with a bunch of clauses in them that they can back out of the contracts. That is the this R360. Is that right or not? I mean, is there actual dollars being talked and are contracts being signed? Because there's been talk of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's been talk of contracts being signed, and as I said, conversations being had, particularly over in the overseas market since the back end of last year, when another gentleman was looking after it first Spall before Tyndall's come on board. And there is talk about those, but no one's been able to put a name to those. So you make an assumption that if those players are signed, then potentially they're already under contract. And then the clauses. You have a signed contract, but if the tournament doesn't get up and the systems don't exist for that contract to be in effect, well, that contract obviously becomes null and void. And then from an agent perspective, you're leaving your player in a vulnerable position. And I think that most agents would see it as that, until there's enough kind of skin in the game and momentum around it. And again, business structure and ratification through World Rugby and those components. I don't know how many contracts are out there that are in the ethers that have been signed off by our elite level players, and we're talking not elite level players in Australia. You're talking about that global market. Because that's who you're chasing. You're not going to get the eyes on the game. It's not going to generate the revenue. People want to watch Artie Surveyor play and Anton Tapoin and Chaz and Colbay and the Barrett boys. That's who globally that the players that they need to go after in the first instance, and that's who they'll target in the first instance, and then that'll trickle slowly back into the fold into Australia. But we're ranked 6th at the moment in World Rugby rankings. How many Wallabies are going to be attractive to that marketplace? And then once you finish that, then you probably enter into the NRL space for potentially a handful of players at dare I say, at absolute most.
Back to our own backyard, Dave, before we let you go. So this Lions tour for Rugby Union is going to help replenish the financial stocks of Rugby Australia, and then the Rugby Union World Cup is going to definitely do that. Now, I've talked to people at Rugby Australia, and they're adamant that they're going to use this for long-term sustainability, not go out and get sugar hits and just burn through the cash like they did through the latter 2000s and to the era of what we're now where they nearly went broke. But will they, in your eyes, in the next couple of years, once they've had these big events and they've got the war chest again, start going after rugby league talent? Or will that happen at a latter schoolboy level where it seems at the moment rugby league has the upper hand, especially in the GPS schools and getting that good young talent to focus on rugby league once they transition to the men's game?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably where they need to start, but whether they'll do that, I mean, I think in general, rugby pundits and followers have been saying that's a system that needs to be fixed, traditionalism through the GPS system. And you're right, it's completely owned and dominated by the NRL clubs. So there's been no real fight back from rugby union in that space. And that's not necessarily about the cash either, right? You're talking about schools that have gym facilities that are worth more than NRL club facilities or rugby union club facilities, right? So I think the game's got to do a lot in that space to be able to claw back some ground at the schoolboy level and potentially look at some longer term success. But unfortunately, at the minute, Super Rugby itself is that format going to be able to be a sustainable revenue stream and a sustainable competition, I guess, based on the revenue coming into that. So I think the game probably needs a look at from a whole of game level. Are the people that are in there doing that now capable of finding a solution? I'll bite my tongue and leave that part alone. But I just think we don't want to see the game fail in Australia. I think that even rugby league players, so rugby league fans and sports fans in general want to see Australian teams do well. And we love to watch sport. So there's an appetite and there's a market. It's just about producing a product that's going to put bums on seats and eyes on the TV screens. And if they can manipulate and move some of that money towards a longer term outcome, like you said, rather than a couple of sugar hits and spending significant money on bringing just a small number, a handful of players over, I hope to see a flourishing game in the next, it may not happen in the next 1 or 2 or 3 years, but hopefully see a nice flourishing game in the 4 or 5 years if the money's invested wisely. So,
and
but
depending on what
the World Cup, World Cup might be, the World Cup being here may also entice, depending on how our international program continues after the Lions tour, they may need to look at options of bringing some players back from overseas, or look at potentially transporting some good NRL talent across for a World Cup.
Yeah, so it's not on like Donkey Kong, but you never know. Last one,
It's
Joey
not.
Manu. When's he come back to the Roosters?
Well, as you know, he obviously finished off his year in Japan and then he's off to Racing now. So I'm not sure when he's coming back to the Roosters, but he's enjoying his rugby union journey from what I'm told at the moment. So we'll see how that transgresses. But I'd say that we've had a good a pick out of rugby ourselves. With Mark's been brilliant this year. Carter Gordon obviously has missed out on footy up at the Titans, but I think if Carter was playing because of medical reasons, but I think we've missed seeing a very, very good footballer, rugby union player transition across in Carter Gordon. I think if Carter Gordon's fit, I think the Titans and Carter will be getting a lot more attention. I think he's an exceptional player and was a very, very good astute get for the Titans. Savele Tamale down at the Raiders. We've got some Nathan Lawson's come across from Sevens. We've got Will Warbrick come across from Sevens. So we're still picking the eyes out of some of their talent as well, and I'd expect to see more of that coming towards the NRL with the expansion of 2 new teams, more so than a drain the other way.
Absolutely, Dave. Well, from Carter's point of view, if he's going to miss out in a year, this one hasn't turned out to be a bad one to miss. Dave Rawlings, really appreciate your time, mate. Thanks for all the info and have a good one.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, go rest up, mate. I know your back's not the best, so just go lay down in bed, mate. You might have strained a little bit talking for 10 minutes.
Thanks, Dave. Don't listen to Michael.
Don't answer his phone next time, Dave.
Just don't pick up to Michael Chammas.
Yeah, exactly.
Love you, Dave.
Who's Michael Chammas?
That's what we ask ourselves every single day, Dave. We're off to a quick break on the Journos edition. Back in a sec to talk about Desi and his blow-up. Kalyn Ponga situation, how'd that turn out? And Michael Chammas finally gets his way. He gets to explain kick meters. Hey, Chammy, what happened to your Kalyn Ponga scoop last week? Well, he's going to stay there until the end of his contract. He's happy. He put it out on Instagram, made it Instagram official.
Yeah.
He didn't really deny it, though. He didn't deny, like, in fairness to Chammy.
He's suggesting that I was wrong.
Yes.
No,
In fairness
please.
to Chammy, I'll support him on this.
I was more right than you know. I can guarantee you that.
I got a little testy.
In fairness to Chammy, I don't think Kalyn's. It wasn't a really strong denial of everything. He didn't come out and refute what Chammy was saying.
He just said he's staying until 2027.
Yeah, and look, that's obviously what he's saying he's going to do. But I can guarantee you, I wrote it in my column on the weekend, in Clubland, in the NRL, there's an awareness of a restlessness of Kalyn Ponga. And there's a belief that he's having, I use the term, a rugby league midlife crisis. And he's just assessing. I think he's been looking at, this is what he's done, and he's done some great things, hasn't he? He's won a Daily M, he's played for Queensland. But at club level, whilst he's obviously had some great games, Newcastle have not been near a competition. And he's all about winning competitions.
And you know what? You've had a midlife crisis, probably. I've had one. Chammy, you haven't had yours yet.
Not there yet.
No.
Yeah, I look forward to witnessing it.
I dispute that you're not quite there yet, Chammy. You're looking great, mate. That's all I'm going to say.
Mate,
It's a nice jacket.
I don't think I'll have a midlife crisis. Honestly, don't think I'll have one.
Chammy,
I think I'm above that.
Chammy, look at me.
Above it, like he's
Chammy,
above origin.
look me in the eye. Bullshit.
I don't think I will, mate.
Everyone has one.
Okay, what was yours?
Chammy, you're looking at $1 million.
Yeah,
What was your midlife crisis? You want to get all Dr. Phil on me? What was your midlife crisis?
Dr. Phil, well, I'm surprised you know who Dr. Phil
I'm
is.
telling you that you will have a midlife crisis, my
What was your
friend.
midlife? I want to go. What was your midlife crisis?
Nah, it's for another podcast, I reckon.
Okay, Danny, what was your midlife
No,
crisis?
I haven't
You've
had
had
one
like
yet.
8 of them.
I haven't had one yet.
Oh, please.
I'm way beyond midlife too. I'm on the last few holes.
You're on the end of the life crisis.
Yes, I am. I'm just hanging on.
Des Hasler.
Oh, we're moving
Hang
on.
on,
from
hang
Kalyn.
on, hang on.
Hang
Oh,
on.
Kalyn, well,
Kalyn,
we've
well,
established that.
If you want to sit there and spray me like you feel
Hang on,
good, have a give me a chance to defend it.
I defended you.
Yeah, thank you, Danny.
Yeah.
Okay, defend yourself.
Oh, well, look, what I reported,
You feel
Adam,
good.
what I
Can you
reported
leave Gus out
was
of
that
this,
Kalyn
please?
Ponga was exploring up avenues to leave the club.
Yep.
1,000,000% stand by that story. Okay?
Chammy's right.
The fact that he didn't doesn't mean I was wrong. And it took 4 days for him to come out and put that on social media to then meet with the club and the club to outline to him the strategic vision for the future. Do you do that to someone who doesn't intend to leave? And the fact that it got out when it did, because their intention was for it to wait to the end of the year, end of the season.
Okay, take a step back. Whose intention? You said their intention.
Team Ponga.
Yeah.
Kalyn,
What did they
his
want?
father,
What did they want to
represents
happen
him.
at the end of the year?
to look at opportunities elsewhere. And the fact the story came out
Expedited the process.
expedited the process, but also meant they didn't have anything in play. Because I can tell you now, they were looking at their options. And why would you ask for a release from your contract if you don't have somewhere to go? And clearly Newcastle weren't going to look favourably upon him asking for a release. And it was going to be very difficult because they were going to put conditions on potentially him leaving. So they met with the club. They outlined the vision. They were very secretive around what that vision is. And Kalyn then goes out on social media and says committed till the end of 2027. I actually respect the fact that Kalyn didn't come out with some bullshit that he wasn't looking out at his options or said it was fake news.
Yeah.
He just said what it was. Committed to 2027. He's obviously had the meeting and he's locked in. I hope he does. I hope he stays beyond 27 and wins Newcastle a premiership. But the fact is he was having what Danny called the version, what did you say? Was it Rugby League's version of a midlife crisis?
Yeah.
Mid-career crisis.
And he was frustrated with the situation.
Okay.
Explore the opportunities, and now has told the club.
And the
he's
other
willing to
part of it was
stay.
Adam O'Brien. And
I don't think he wants to leave because Adam O'Brien's there.
no, but I'm just saying that I don't think that's settled either.
Well, it's not settled. And I stand by the fact that the club has been making inquiries elsewhere.
And I don't think they're in love with Adam O'Brien as a club.
They've got form in that. Well,
They're
yeah.
not in love with it as a club.
Well, would you be happy with the situation they're in? They've had a lot of injuries. The salary cap's, a lot of people saying it's bent out of shape. They're about to go through a management upheaval. They're going to.
Well, Peter
Phil
Parr's gonna
Gardner's
take over
moving
as
on.
CEO.
Yeah, Peter Parr moves into the CEO role. Chris James moves into the GM role. We know Peter O'Sullivan's come to the club. There's a lot of change. You don't make all that change if you're flying. So
Yeah.
people want to say, oh, it's scuttle or it didn't come to anything. Well,
It hasn't come to anything yet.
it happens a lot in what we do. We report on things, and sometimes reporting on it actually changes the course of what it does.
It does, and also it's easy for a player to deny a story.
Well, I remember, I think 2 years ago, I reported that the Tigers were on the verge of fast-tracking Benji Marshall's transition and moving on from Tim Sheen's
Mm-hmm.
earlier than the 2 years that he was supposed to as a transition coach. And I remember wearing the bullets. The club denied it.
Who denied it?
Well, the club did, the management.
Mm.
Everyone
did. Tim Sheen's,
Yeah.
Ben, they all did. I stood by the story and I wore the bullets for a few months until it eventually happened.
Mm.
But you know that you have to make that decision. Sometimes you know that if you do it, it's not gonna see the light of day, and you're gonna look so wrong.
And when you're doing stories like that, particularly around the Ponga one, around such a big name, you don't do it recklessly. You're not. I don't look. I hadn't heard about the rugby agent stuff, right? That's why I think it was a particularly good story as well. But you don't do that recklessly. You're obviously going to do your research because you know when you put that story out there, there's definitely going to be backlash.
Yeah.
And you're going to be called all sorts of things. Your story's going to be questioned, and you've got to wear it, and you're still wearing it. But I mean, as someone in the game, I know there are definitely elements of truth to that. I didn't know about the rugby agent side, but in terms of being unsettled, that is definitely right.
There's more to this story, Adam, and I don't know if we'll hear more about it or not in the future. But let's just I was more than confident to go with it.
Yeah,
I was more than confident to go with it.
You happy you've explained yourself now?
Yeah. Well, you asked the question, champion.
Well, two champions.
Spraying champions everywhere.
Dishing
them out.
I've copped one and I've backed him.
Yeah. No, I'll take your champion back from you.
Oh, okay, you're the champion.
Champion is not as good as champ.
Okay.
No, because I started my career at the Fairfield Champion, so it holds a special place in my heart. That word. Plus, my last name's short for champion.
So that's who to blame.
Yeah, righto.
Fairfield champion.
Des Hasler coached his 500th game. He's just got there. Des. Rugby league will be a poorer place, I think, when Des Hasler's not coaching in the NRL. But that's the way where life goes.
I had a mate ring me from the airport just before we got here, saying, "Hey, I just saw Des at the airport. He looks so unsettled. Isn't that his usual? That's his usual look. Is it? Yeah.
What's the best call you've got from Des?
No. It's the pocket calls. It's the pocket. He rings you.
Yeah.
Sorry. It was a pocket call. Now that I've got you, because you ring back about 4 times to get him back because something's important. Des is ringing
at 5 a.m.
And then he's got some sort of theory he wants out there.
Yeah.
He wants he's not. It's more having a shot at the way the game's being run or refereed or something like that, and you just get this theory.
When was he at his most agitated? Was it when he was at Manly?
Always.
Dogs back at Manly?
I think he's always.
Yeah.
He's always just on a bit of edge, and the press conferences Des gives people. They frustrate people, but they're deliberate. He does these things deliberately.
Yeah. When he forgets that
he pauses between what he says because he knows it's hard to get a television grab because if you listen to one of his sentences, it's a 7-second sentence said over 24 seconds, and in TV, it's hard to put that on television. So he knows what he's doing. And I even think we're going to talk about that spray, aren't we? The post.
Yeah. So the backstory of that is that the play, they'd already copped the spray. The players went, okay, thanks, coach. Went in to get showered, obviously racing to get to the airport, but Des then comes up with something else and goes, no, back you come. I'm going to give you another one here.
And Adam, you know Des well enough to know that he knows his cameras.
Yeah.
Because he's not afraid of blocking off a camera.
Yeah.
Or putting a towel over a camera or hiding a team behind a whiteboard so you can't see what he's doing.
Yep.
He would have known that this is all on camera.
Mm.
This is done for a reason. I haven't dipped into his head to find out exactly what that reason was, but it was done in front of the owner who was scurrying, Rebecca Frizzell. You watch.
I actually thought she handled it well. She just okay, I'm going to let him go and walk away.
Michael Monaghan, his assistant coach, sort of did a double take, he looked sideways, it's done for effect. People are convinced Des has done acting lessons. That's
He's a smart guy.
But what effect would that have? What effect
I
do you think
don't
he was
know why
after?
he's done it.
Yeah.
Maybe to show people that
he runs the show.
He runs the show.
The owners are there.
The owners, he runs it, and he's still got passion for the job because people are saying he's about to get flicked after this game.
Yeah.
So he's showing that he's still the coach. He's still doing things his way. He's still got passion for the job. Unfortunately, no matter what he does now, I don't think we're going to see Des coaching for much longer.
By the way, Gus reckons that they should be banned.
Yeah.
Phil Gould reckons they should be banned. Is he actually told his employers that Channel 9.
Look, Gus said as much that he knows.
Gus hates the media. Hates the media for someone who works out of it. Anyway.
Doesn't hate all of them.
No, he
done a
just
lot of
hates the
podcasts
media
on
in
this,
general.
Yeah.
I remember copping a spray for 2 hours for something I never did at Penrith one day. He just came out and just
Gus. I'm with you, Gus.
He went on a rant about the media and how they destroy rugby league and how they're the problem with everything. And if it was up to him, he'd lock the gates and never let anyone in. And I'm like this 26-year-old. Like, I just asked for an interview with the champion.
Another champion.
Yeah, I copped it for an hour. And I was like,
is that the best spray you've ever copped?
No, because it wasn't even about me. He was just going off about the media. And I'm like doing nice, positive stories about Penrith coming through as a young, innocent guy.
I hear that same conversation once a week.
But this is the best part. I said to him, well, the hour end, I said, so we're doing the interview? He's like, no, we're not doing it. Goes back inside, and then the media manager comes out talking to me. And then while we're doing that, Gus comes back out for the second half and gives me another hour.
He's done the Des.
He's come back out and give me another hour. About Bryce Cartwright, how it ruined his life. I didn't write a word about Bryce Cartwright. Matt Moylan, all these things about how we've ruined people's lives. And I'm like, I haven't written a single word about these guys. But anyway, we've gotten on really well since.
Cameras in dressing rooms. Look, for people like us, and you think people who are listening as well, it's a privilege for us to see that. Like, we don't get to. That's a world we're seeing through a camera.
That ain't changing with the TV rights coming in.
Yeah, I think that you want. Well, isn't it? Aren't people? I mean, there's lots of people have access issues. I mean, the hardest thing in our game, like for Michael and I, is to get access to things. Like, to get access to players now is so hard compared to the old days when I could walk into a dressing room and you'd interview a bloke in a shower as he's, post game, and put your tape recorder there and just talk to him for 10 minutes, and you'd go out and you'd bring Jack Gibson on the phone and have a chat to him. Or, it's just so much harder these days for journos.
I heard some people, I think it was Matty Johns, and the guys were laughing at the fact that everyone now showers in their Speedos.
Yeah.
But imagine if they didn't.
Because of cameras and stuff.
Well, cameras are around, but also there never used to be a female in a dressing room 20 years ago. Now, they're a part of the football staff, the medical staff. Rebecca Frizzell was in there.
Yeah.
There's an element of you need to be respectful. And I actually think, obviously we can laugh about it, but I actually think you get yourself into so much trouble if blokes were having nude showers, just walking around change rooms with privacy issues. And
the cameras would be much more
because they're always rolling. The cameras are always rolling. They might not go to air, but someone's seeing it somewhere.
Yeah.
So in this day and age, I can understand why I think people now have moved away from these nude showers and people around.
There we go, blokes showering in the nude. That's where we got to on this podcast. Just
I didn't think we were going there, but
reining it back into rugby league. Gold Coast. Will they ever get it right? I look at that roster. Everyone's saying, "Oh, what a great roster they have," and but do they?
It's a good roster. Yeah, good individuals.
You know what it is? It's good. It's good names.
Balanced.
It's good names, isn't it? They've got a lot of good names.
Four guys who could play fullback.
They got four. They're a team of fullbacks and front rowers. Honestly, do you know what they need to do? Whoever goes in there at the end of the year,
Clean out.
No, they got to make a hard decision. One's got to go. You can't have Campbell, Brimson, and Kinney in the team. I'm sorry. You're wasting your money on guys who just fit into two positions.
Campbell's being shopped around. Have you heard that? I've heard his name.
Well, he's November 1. He's a free agent.
Yeah, he's being shopped around. I've heard his name at several clubs. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's.
What's his position?
I think he's a 1. Mm-hmm. And I think Kinney's a 1, and I think Brimson's a 1.
Yeah.
I think you can play Campbell at 6 if you had to. But you got to one's got to go, Danny. And it doesn't mean they're not good players, but
so who built
you're wasting
roster,
your money
Chammy?
on the cap for guys who are trying to fit into different positions.
Who built the roster? Does it go back to?
Oh, it goes back to the previous administration. Yeah. The recruitment guy, Mal was there. The two guys that gone to Perth, Ezra Howe and Mal.
Yeah.
But also re-signing Brimson on such a long-term deal. Brimson's a great player. He's a fullback at most clubs. But you got Kinney.
Yeah, who's probably a better fullback.
And then you got Campbell. So, and I didn't understand the Regan signing at the start of the year either. Not that Regan's not a good player, but you've got a good front row. You've got plenty of middles. Spend your money elsewhere.
And you reckon they're regretting the David Fafita stuff?
Well, obviously.
With the Gold Coast itself, though, one look at the AFL ladder this season tells you that the Gold Coast Suns are finally having.
Where are they?
The possibility of success. They're a chance of playing finals. They're 8th at the moment. They've hired a big name coach who's won premierships before in Damien Hardwick. He's gone on there and he's obviously given them a bit of something that they've been lacking in their history, and they came into the competition in 2011. Gold Coast United, one of the great Australian sports stories, Clive Palmer taking over an A-League franchise. They came and went way too quickly, unfortunately. God, there's some yarns there.
I watched the game actually once there.
Oh,
Is that
my
when you build
goodness.
the dinosaurs
It was
at
like
the
8
golf
people.
course?
Yeah, he's got that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's building the Titanic and all those
okay.
things. Gold Coast Blaze in the NBL came and went as well. Rugby League have had the Giants, the Seagulls, Captain Charger. I mean, the greatest thing about Rugby League on the Gold Coast, apart from one finals appearance or 4 finals appearances for the Titans, is the advent of Captain Charger. He was the most famous thing about Rugby League on the Gold Coast before the Titans came on. But still, the Titans haven't been able to drill down on any kind of success.
Well, Des was brought there to bring in grit, because that seems to be what they all say. I mean, I don't live there. I don't know exactly what goes on there, but they all say the team needs grit and character. And that's why Des was brought there. And Des is famous for that at Manly, at the Dogs, and he has not been able to bring that grit anywhere near the club.
They also struggle from the fact that they're the ugly stepsister too. Like Brisbane dominates the media landscape, and they're. I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's disrespectful. They're somewhat irrelevant in that market. And I'll tell you, the coverage, it pales in insignificance compared to what Brisbane get. The Dolphins at least had an established fan base. There's an established brand there. You're not just get some new guys who live in the area to come and support the team. And they struggle. They struggle with the fact that they are irrelevant in that market.
How do they get that relevance? By winning, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I think they've tried to buy that relevance in the past. Jared Haynes signing, Des, David Fafita, Mal. They've tried to buy that relevance rather than becoming a powerhouse through the junior nursery. And it's always been short term, try and turn the tide in the short term rather than build something for long term sustainability. Maybe it is time for a complete refresh of the club brand again. Go and sort of find a whole new colour, logo, brand, something. Because whatever's there at the moment isn't something that is notorious for being a winning club.
Do you buy into the whole glitter strip notion? I mean, like, look,
it is a place to go and lose yourself to a point, but there is
like there are teams based on the beaches.
There are a lot of people who live there and who were born there and will probably leave this earth there. It is a place of. Like it's a proper place. It's not a place to just go on holiday.
It's not as transient as people want to make out.
Exactly.
It doesn't stop the NFL, the American teams from having success in Vegas. Didn't the Las Vegas Knights make the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago?
Yeah. So I don't buy that whole notion.
No, either do I.
It doesn't.
No, it's wrong.
And
they've got all the facilities they want. All rugby league clubs these days are well funded by the NRL.
Everything.
There's no excuse. So we'll see how it all turns out. Chammy, can you tell us about you love your video games? Rugby League 26 has been copping it. I haven't seen it. I don't play video games, but apparently players. Firstly, there's glitches and all of these things, and it's not quite happening. But players weren't to a deeper level. Players weren't asked permission about names and likeness. Is this true, or what went on there?
It's a bit complicated. So there has been an issue raised to the NRL from the RLPA around players complaining about how they look, especially female players.
Really?
Yeah, who are offended by the way they've been represented and portrayed and the likeness in the video game. I think they've asked the NRL to look into Big Ant, who's the production company, to try and get those players re-scanned and added to the game.
Can you do all that?
Yeah, you can do that, especially with the online updates.
I've been seeing on Twitter that people are demanding changes to things and they're getting bonus amounts of money or something because things aren't working on the game. Is that right?
Yeah, there are some issues with it. I think the RLPA have taken issue with the fact that the NRL, the way it's been told to me is that clubs started to ring the RLPA and say, we're getting people from Big Ant rocking up on our doorstep telling us that they're going to be scanning our players. What's going on? And under the CBA, forgive me if I get it wrong, but I think there's the IP of the players belongs to the RLPA if it's 3 or more players in a collective group. So this situation, with footy cards and video games and whatnot. So the NRL didn't speak to the RLPA and just went and organised it with Big Ant. Now, Big Ant has run the game over a number of years. I think the NRL made inquiries with EA Sports, and EA Sports create FIFA.
Is Rugby League big enough for that?
well, apparently it was going to cost them 50 to 60 million. That's the quote they got given from EA Sports. So that was never going to happen. But that's where you get the top-notch video
Have you played
games.
this game? Is it?
I have played
is
the
it
game.
full
I
of
played it.
glitches?
I would say it's full of glitches, but I don't think the gameplay has changed a lot from the last time it was, I think 2016 or 17, and it's really frustrating the passing, and the guys are starting 10 meters back when you pass it out of the ruck, and the passing is difficult. I think the graphics actually have come a long way from what they
Scoring
were.
tries is difficult, but apparently you're trying to score a try and you kick the ball. I've read that online.
That's always been the case.
And
Yeah, it's hard.
Payne Haas kicking field goals and this
You
sort
can
of
kick a
stuff.
field goal with anyone. That's how it is.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. I'm just saying with things I've read.
I'm happy for him. Payne can do everything.
It's like saying, oh, the
I'm not a
keeper in
gamer,
FIFA ran out and
sorry.
scored a goal. Well, that
Yeah.
can happen. If you want to do it, do
Okay.
it. I've done it before, just mind you. But yeah, I don't think the RLPA are very happy and have had some complaints from players about the way they look. But I don't know. I guess sometimes you pay for what you get, and
There you go. That's our story. We're going to end this podcast with a look back 30 years ago. The Bulldogs came up with one of the more miraculous final series and then grand final wins.
I wish I could remember it.
I can. Chammy, how old were you? 95?
I would have been 7.
Okay, excellent. No idea what went on. Or a little idea, but
I went to the 96 grand final.
Yeah. How'd that turn out for
Yeah,
you?
not very good.
Yeah, good on you.
Smiling.
Matthew Ridge, I'm not going to go there.
So just to,
How'd that turn out?
I love the idea. I've had to look
great
at the
idea.
draw a couple of times and go, I heard it on the radio the other day, oh yeah, the Dogs are playing Manly at Allianz Stadium. And I'm just like, well, they've stuffed that up. They're playing at a core. That's the Dogs' home game. But no, they're actually playing this game at the venue of the 95 grand final. And this was when Manly Super League broke out that year. So the game was in pieces. It was like, what on earth is going on? There was 20 teams in the competition. North Queensland had just come in. Auckland had just come in. The Dogs had had a tumultuous year because they all signed with Super League and then 4 of them didn't. Dean Pay,
McCracken.
Jared McCracken, Jim Dimmick,
Yep.
Jason Smith.
They all went to Para.
And they ended up going to Para.
Yep.
But they were in pieces. Manly were this juggernaut. Bozo had got them all together and they were a fantastic team. We lost 2 games. We lost 2 games all year. This game, actually, I look back with more regret than the 97 grand final as a Manly fan.
Really?
Like, because the 97 grand final was just a miraculous, freakish. Yeah, and Manly were just on the downslope. This one, we were unbeatable. Friggin' unbeatable. And go into this, and the Dogs rock up with this togetherness that was apparently forged in a
pub, wasn't it?
Yeah, in a pub where Chris Anderson said, right, you blokes, you're not on the same page. Get on the same page. Go get drunk in true rugby league fashion.
Drink
and come
to
out
your friends.
drink to your friends, basically. And then, look, it did take a gridiron pass and a 7th tackle try to get past us on the day. But, yeah, that was an incredible time in rugby league. All a bit of a blur for you, Danny. You were covering the game.
I can't remember that far back. I forget stuff.
What, you
all the time.
covering it?
I don't know if I would have covered it. I would have potentially been.
You would have been in rugby league, though.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
Super
yeah.
League.
Yeah, I was definitely. Like, I got involved in league in 87, 88. So, yeah, but I don't have this distinct memory. I remember stories like that. Like,
Plus, Gus wasn't at the Bulldogs at the time, so he didn't have any interest.
I remember distinct stories like the pub meeting and all that sort of stuff. But I just don't remember the specifics like you do because it's obviously burnt into your bitter mind. Can I just bring up something else that is interesting? Dogs at Allianz. Do you think there's something in that? Or do you think they're testing?
Be a trifle harsh on South Sydney if the Dogs get to play games there.
Imagine that Nick Politis and Gus do a deal. Yeah, you can come. Not those dogs over there.
Do you wonder if they're testing out whether it's going to be a thing for them?
No, I don't know. You're speaking like you know something.
No, I'm just saying. I wouldn't be surprised.
Surely where the Dogs are heading,
No,
they've got an opportunity to have a standard of 50,000 people at every home
Why
game.
would they? They will.
At a
I'm just
call.
saying. I'm wondering whether they're testing it out.
You don't just say something, champion. Sorry.
Another chance. I'm just asking the question.
No, you're not.
I'm just. Asking
You don't
the
ask.
question.
You're the dog whisperer. You don't ask questions.
Champion dog whisperer.
We need to look into this, find out what's going on.
Just asking questions.
I don't think it's a chance. But I like the notion of this and a Sunday Arvo game as well.
Yeah, it's a great concept, and I hope they sell it out. And for your sake, Adam, I hope the result's different.
Be a good game.
Oh, a ripper. Absolute ripper. Manly found form.
Dogs with a new halfback going all right.
Dogs.
Although I
going all right.
do note that Toby Sexton has been named in the 23.
Yes, I saw that.
Anything in that?
I saw that. I'm just saying, I think that they've made their mind up on Lockie Galvin.
But why would they name him in the.
Well, if someone gets injured, he needs to be.
Yeah,
If
just-
Galvin gets injured at training,
Yeah.
if he's not in the 23, they can't bring him in.
Oh, really?
Or if Matt Burton's hurt, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Fair enough.
Always have to have cover, Adam.
Keeping your options open, huh? Mm.
Great chat.
Great episode, guys. Jeez, we covered
Honestly,
some ground.
I don't think I'll have a midlife crisis. I don't think I will.
You friggin' wait, pal.
Let's not go there again, Chammy.
No,
You
no.
Let's
wait.
not go.
I'm telling
I'm
you.
just saying you're looking wonderful.
Okay, if I go through a midlife crisis,
What do you mean
tell me.
if you go through one?
No, I don't.
Maybe you've been through one.
There's no if, mate.
Maybe you've been through
No,
one.
that's not true. That's not true. Anyway, have a good night.
See you guys.